The morning air on Viridian 7 smelled like honey and wet earth. Daewon walked through the forest path, checking his scanner every few minutes. He was looking for plant samples today. The research outpost needed more data about the local vegetation. His boots made soft sounds on the moss-covered ground. Daewon loved this job. He had spent 5 years on this colony world, studying the strange and beautiful life forms here. The trees were tall, with purple leaves that glowed slightly in the shade. Small creatures chirped and buzzed in the canopy above. Everything felt peaceful. Then he heard the crying. It was high-pitched and desperate. The sound cut through the forest quiet like a knife. Daewon stopped walking and listened carefully. The crying came again, mixed with words he could barely understand. Help. Please, human, help. Daewon ran toward the sound. He pushed through hanging vines and jumped over fallen logs. His heart pounded in his chest. Someone was in trouble. The crying got louder as he got closer. He burst into a small clearing near the forest edge. There, hovering just above the ground, was a small alien child. Daewon recognized the species immediately. It was a Valith, one of the butterfly people from the Andara system. The child had 4 delicate wings that shimmered with rainbow colors. They fluttered frantically as the child sobbed, "Please, please help." The child cried when she saw Daewon. Her large eyes were wet with tears. Her small body shook with fear. Daewon knelt down slowly, making himself smaller and less threatening. He spoke in a gentle voice. "Hey, it's okay. I'm here now. What's your name?" "Nanira," the child stammered. "My mother. My mother is hurt. She's trapped. Please, you have to help her." Daewon felt his stomach tighten. "Where is your mother, Nira?"
Can you show me?
Nira pointed toward the deep forest with a trembling hand. "In there." She went to look at the flowers. She said they were pretty, but she didn't come back. I heard her screaming. "I tried to find her, but the forest is scary. There are bad things in there." Daewon looked where Nira was pointing. That was the restricted zone. The outpost had put warning signs all around that area months ago. There had been reports of illegal activity in those woods. Some poachers had been setting traps for rare animals. The colonial security team had been investigating, but they hadn't found the poachers yet. "How long ago did your mother go in there?" Daewon asked. "I don't know," Nira whimpered. "A long time. The sun was over there." She pointed to where the sun would have been several hours earlier. "She told me to wait at the visitor center. But I got worried. I came looking for her. Then I heard her scream and then—" "Nothing, please, you have to save her." Daewon pulled out his communicator. He pressed the emergency button. "Hana, this is Daewon. I have a situation. We need immediate assistance at the eastern forest boundary. A Velith civilian is trapped in the restricted zone, possibly caught in a poacher trap." Hana's voice crackled through the device. "Understood. I'm on my way. Do not enter that zone alone. Wait for backup." But Daewon looked at Nira's desperate face. The child was terrified. Every minute counted. The Velith were delicate creatures. Their bodies were not strong like human bodies. An injury that would be minor for a human could be fatal for a Velith. "Nira," Daewon said carefully, "I promise you I will bring your mother back, but I need you to be brave. Can you fly back to the visitor center and wait there?" Nira shook her head violently. "No, I have to come with you. I have to help her." "I know you want to help," Daewon said softly, "but the best way you can help is by staying safe. If something happens to you too, your mother would be very sad. I need you to trust me. I'm very good at finding people in the forest. That's my job, but I need to know you're safe so I can focus on helping your mother." Nira looked torn. Tears streamed down her face. Finally, she nodded. "Promise you'll save her?" "I promise I'll do everything I can," Daewon said. He stood up. "Now go to the visitor center. Tell the people there what happened. More help will come." Nira flew away slowly, looking back several times. Daewon watched until she disappeared through the trees. Then he turned toward the restricted zone. He couldn't wait for backup. Every minute mattered. Daewon had grown up in the wilderness on Earth. His father had been a park ranger. He had learned to track, to survive, to notice dangers that others missed. Those skills had served him well on many colony worlds. He stepped carefully into the restricted zone. His eyes scanned the ground for any signs of disturbance. The forest here looked different. The animals were quieter. Something felt wrong, then he saw it. A broken branch at chest height. Bent, not naturally fallen. Someone had pushed through here recently. Daewon followed the trail. He moved slowly, testing each step before putting his full weight down. 20 meters in, he found the first trap. It was hidden under leaves and moss, a pressure plate connected to metal jaws. If he had stepped on it, the jaws would have snapped shut on his leg. Daewon carefully marked it with a bright flag from his pack. He moved around it and continued following the trail. The forest got darker. The canopy grew thicker. Daewon found 2 more traps as he went deeper. Each one was sophisticated and deadly. These weren't amateur traps. Someone with real skill had made them, someone who knew what they were doing. His communicator buzzed. "Daewon, this is Hana. I'm at your last location. Where are you?" "I went in," Daewon admitted. "I'm following a trail. I've found 3 traps so far. Be careful when you follow. I'm marking them." "You idiot," Hana muttered, but he could hear the worry in her voice, not anger. "I'm bringing Jiwon and Taeho. Jiwon has medical supplies. Taeho is launching drones now to scan for heat signatures. Stay on this channel." "Understood," Daewon said. He pushed deeper into the forest. The trail was getting clearer now. He could see where someone had stumbled, where they had grabbed at branches for support. Then he heard it. A faint whimpering sound. "Kala?" he called out. That was a common Velith name. "My name is Daewon. I'm human. I'm here to help. Your daughter Nira sent me." The whimpering got louder. It was coming from ahead, maybe 50 meters. Daewon moved faster now, but still carefully. He rounded a massive tree trunk and stopped. There, in a small clearing, he saw her. A Velith woman hung suspended in the air, caught in a web of glowing cables. The cables wrapped around her body and wings. Every time she moved, they tightened and sparked with electricity. Her beautiful wings were torn and bent. Her body shook with pain and exhaustion. Daewon's blood ran cold. This wasn't a simple trap. This was a torture device. "Hold on," he said, keeping his voice calm even though rage burned in his chest. "Help is coming. I'm going to get you out of there." Hana arrived at the forest edge within 15 minutes. She was wearing full tactical gear, with a rifle slung across her back and a serious expression on her face. Behind her came Jiwon, the medical specialist, carrying 2 large emergency packs. Taeho brought up the rear, his arms full of drone equipment. "Show me where he went," Hana said to the security officer who had stayed at the boundary. The officer pointed to the marked trail. "He's been leaving flags for the traps he finds." 3 so far, Hana nodded. She looked at Jiwon and Taeho. "We move carefully. Watch where I step. If you see anything unusual on the ground, stop and point it out. These poachers know what they're doing." Taeho set up his portable control station. He activated 3 small drones that rose into the air with soft humming sounds. Their cameras fed images to the screen he held. "Scanning for heat signatures now. The forest is full of animal life, but I should be able to identify anything Velith-sized." The 3 of them entered the restricted zone. Hana took the lead, her eyes constantly moving, reading the forest like a book. She had been a soldier before coming to Viridian 7. She knew how to move through dangerous territory. They found Daewon's flags marking the traps. Each time they passed one, Hana made mental notes. The traps were well made and cleverly hidden. Whoever built these had studied the local wildlife. They knew how animals move through this terrain. "Got something," Taeho said suddenly. 2 heat signatures about 1.8 kilometers ahead. One is human-sized, probably Daewon. The other is smaller, elevated. "Could be our Velith. Can your drones get closer?" Jiwon asked. She was moving carefully, trying not to disturb the medical equipment in her packs. "They're at maximum safe range now," Taeho replied. "If I send them closer, I risk the poachers detecting them. If they're monitoring the area, they might know we're coming." Hana thought for a moment. "Keep them where they are. We don't want to alert anyone. If these poachers are still around, we could be walking into an ambush." They moved forward, following Daewon's trail. The forest grew denser. The light filtering through the purple canopy became dimmer. Strange sounds echoed around them. Animal calls they didn't recognize. Jiwon pointed to something on a tree trunk. "Look at that," it was a mark carved into the bark. A series of lines and circles. Hana studied it carefully. "It's a marker. Poachers use these to navigate their trap lines. This means we're in the middle of their territory now. How many traps could there be?" Taeho asked nervously. "Could be dozens," Hana said grimly. "Could be hundreds. Professional poaching operations are extensive. They want to maximize their catch." They continued walking. Every few minutes they found another trap. Some were simple snares, Others were complex mechanical devices. A few were purely electronic, almost invisible until you knew what to look for. Hana marked each one carefully. "This is insane," Jiwan muttered. "How has nobody found this before?" "This zone is huge," Hana explained. "Thousands of square kilometers. The security team has been doing sweeps, but they're understaffed. The poachers probably have watchers. They know when patrols are coming and avoid those areas." Taeho's communicator crackled. "I'm getting a signal from Daewon. He's reached the Velith. Sending coordinates now." The coordinates appeared on their devices. They were close, maybe another kilometer. But the terrain ahead looked rough. The ground sloped downward into a ravine filled with thick undergrowth. "That's a natural funnel," Hana observed. "Animals would travel through there to avoid going around. Perfect place for traps," she was right. As they descended into the ravine, they found traps everywhere. Every 10 meters, sometimes closer. Some were designed for small animals, others for creatures the size of bears. The poachers weren't picky. They were catching anything valuable. Jiwan knelt beside one trap and examined it. "These designs are familiar. I've seen something similar before." She thought for a moment. "These are based on old Earth hunting technology. From centuries ago, before hunting was regulated." Hana looked at her sharply. "You're saying a human built these?" "Has to be," Jiwan said. "The Velith don't hunt. Neither do most other species we've encountered. Humans are one of the few species that evolved as persistence predators. We know how to trap and kill. It's in our history." The words hung heavy in the air. None of them liked the implication. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy. They were known as the species that nearly destroyed their own world before reaching the stars. The species that hunted their megafauna to extinction. Other aliens were often wary of humans because of this history. "Let's just focus on the rescue," Hana said quietly. They pushed through the ravine. The undergrowth grabbed at their clothes. Strange insects buzzed around them. The air felt heavy and humid. Taeho's drones circled overhead, their cameras recording everything. "I'm seeing something else," Taeho said, studying his screen. "Multiple heat signatures, animal-sized, converging on Daewon's location." "What kind of animals?" Hana asked. "Can't tell from this distance. But they're moving fast. Whatever they are, they're predators. The way they're moving, the coordination, they're hunting." Hana swore and started running. Jiwan and Taeho struggled to keep up with her. They crashed through the undergrowth, no longer worried about stealth. The mission had just become more urgent. They heard Daewon's voice through the communicator. "I've got company, 3. No, 4 of them. They look like wolves, but bigger. Much bigger. They're circling the clearing." "We're 5 minutes out," Hana replied. "Can you hold them?" "I'll have to," Daewon said. His voice was tight with tension. "The Velith woman is badly hurt. I can't move her yet." "The trap is still active." Hana ran faster. Her lungs burned. Branches whipped at her face. She could hear the sounds of animal snarls now echoing through the forest. They burst into the clearing just as one of the creatures lunged at Daewon. It was massive, easily 200 kilograms, with silver fur and teeth like daggers. Daewon had his knife out, holding it in a defensive position. Behind him, suspended in the glowing cables, was the Velith woman. Her wings drooped. Her eyes were barely open. Hana didn't hesitate. She brought her rifle up and fired a warning shot into the air. The sound echoed like thunder. The creatures stopped and turned toward the new arrivals. There were 6 of them now, not 4. They had intelligent eyes. They were deciding whether these new humans were prey or threats. "Jiwan, get to the Velith," Hana ordered. "Taeho, help Daewon with the trap." "I'll handle our friends here." The creatures watched as Jiwan carefully approached the trapped Velith. One of them growled, showing its teeth. Hana fired another shot, this one closer. The message was clear. Back off, or the next shot won't be a warning. The creatures were smart. They understood guns. After a tense moment, they began to retreat, disappearing into the undergrowth. But Hana knew they wouldn't go far. They would wait and watch. If the humans showed any weakness, they would return. Jiwan reached the Velith woman. "Her name is Kala," Daewon said. "She's been here for hours. Maybe 6 or 7. She's dehydrated and in shock. The trap delivers electric shocks every time she moves." Jiwan examined the trap carefully. "This is bad. The cables are bioelectric. They're designed to keep the prey alive but immobilized, probably so the poachers can harvest them fresh." The words made everyone feel sick. This wasn't just hunting. This was cruelty. Taeho studied the trap's control box. "There's a dead man's switch. If I just cut the power, it'll trigger a massive shock. Could kill her instantly. Can you disarm it? Daewon asked. Maybe. Give me a few minutes. Those few minutes felt like hours. Taeho worked carefully, his hands steady despite the pressure. Jiwon talked softly to Kala, trying to keep her conscious. Hana kept watch, her rifle ready, scanning the forest for any movement. Finally, Taeho let out a breath. Got it. The switch is disabled. Cutting power now. The glowing cables went dark and went slack. Kala fell and Daewon caught her carefully. Her body was so light, like holding a bird. Her wings were crushed and torn. Jiwon immediately began treating her injuries, working quickly and efficiently. We need to get her back to the outpost, Jiwon said. She needs proper medical care. These field supplies aren't enough. Can she be moved? Hana asked. She'll have to be, Jiwon replied. If we stay here much longer, those creatures will come back. And there might be more traps around us. They fashioned a stretcher from emergency blankets and poles from Taeho's equipment. They placed Kala on it gently. Daewon and Hana took the front. Jiwon and Taeho took the back. The journey out of the forest was slow and careful. Every step was calculated. The creatures followed them at a distance, shadows moving through the trees. But they didn't attack. The humans moved as a unit, weapons ready, protecting their injured charge. When they finally emerged from the restricted zone, the sun was setting. Nira was waiting at the boundary with several security officers. When she saw her mother, she flew forward with a cry of relief and fear. Mama! Mama! Kala's eyes opened slightly. She saw her daughter and managed a weak smile. Nira. I'm here, little one. I'm here. They rushed Kala to the medical center. Jiwon and the other medical staff worked through the night. The rest of them sat in the waiting room, exhausted and silent. They had saved one life today, but they all knew this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, the poachers were still operating, and they would strike again. The medical center's lights stayed on all night. Daewon sat in the waiting room, unable to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Kala suspended in those terrible cables. He saw Nira's frightened face. He thought about how easily this could have ended differently. Hana brought him coffee at dawn. She looked as tired as he felt. Jiwon says Kala will survive. Her wings are badly damaged. She might never fly again, but she'll live. Daewon took the coffee gratefully. And Nira? She hasn't left her mother's side, Hana said. The kid is tough. Scared, but tough. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Daewon spoke. Those traps were made by humans. You know that, right? Hana nodded slowly. Jiwon confirmed it. The design, the materials, the technology, all human-made. Probably manufactured off-world and brought here. How long has this been going on? Daewon asked. How many others have been caught? How many died before we even knew this was happening? I don't know, Hana admitted. But we're going to find out. Bora, the colonial administrator, called an emergency meeting at noon. Everyone involved in the rescue was there, along with security chiefs and environmental officers. They gathered in the conference room, tired and angry. Bora stood at the head of the table. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the room. First, I want to thank the rescue team. You saved a life yesterday. You also uncovered evidence of a major crime. Now we need to figure out how big this operation is and who's running it. She pulled up a holographic map of the restricted zone. Red dots began appearing across the map. More and more dots spreading like a disease. These are the traps we've found so far. 217 in just the first sweep. We're still searching. The room went quiet. 217 traps. It was overwhelming. How did we miss this? Someone asked. The restricted zone covers 3,000 square kilometers, Bora explained. We have 12 security officers for the entire colony. The poachers were smart. They set their traps in areas we patrol least often. They probably have spotters who warn them when we're coming. Daewon leaned forward. What kind of animals were they targeting? Bora changed the display. Images appeared of various creatures. Some were herbivores, gentle and beautiful. Others were predators, dangerous and rare. Everything. They're not picky. Any species with value on the black market. Furs, organs, live specimens. Some of these animals are endangered. A few are sentient species like the Velith. The horror of it settled over everyone. This wasn't just poaching. It was a systematic destruction of the planet's ecosystem. Taeho spoke up. I analyzed the trap components. They're high-quality military-grade technology. The bioelectric cables alone cost thousands of credits each. Someone is funding this operation with serious money. Which means they're making even more money selling the catches, Hana added. Bo-Ra nodded. I've contacted the Interspecies Trade Commission. They're sending investigators, but that will take weeks. We need to act now. She pulled up another display. This one showed shipping records. I had Myung, our tech specialist, run a search. 3 unregistered cargo ships have entered this system in the past 6 months. They stayed in orbit for a few days each time, then left. No official cargo, no passenger manifests, just in and out. Picking up shipments, Daewon said quietly. That's what we think. The poachers set the traps, collect the catches, then ship them off-world when one of these cargo vessels arrives. Can we track these ships? Hana asked. Myung is trying. But they're using false transponders. They're good at covering their tracks. The meeting continued for hours. They discussed patrols, surveillance, trap removal. But everyone knew they were reacting, not preventing. The poachers were still out there, probably watching them right now. After the meeting, Daewon went to visit Kala. She was awake now, propped up in a medical bed. Her wings were wrapped in bandages. Nira sat beside her, holding her hand. Mr. Daewon, Kala said softly when she saw him. Her voice was weak but clear. Nira told me what you did. You saved my life. I did what anyone would do, Daewon replied. No, Kala said firmly. Not anyone. Many would have waited for safety, for backup, for permission. You ran into danger because a child asked for help. That is not what anyone would do. That is what a good person does. Daewon felt uncomfortable with the praise. I'm just sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry humans did this, Kala looked at him curiously. Why do you apologize for actions you did not take? Because they were humans. My species. We have a history of this. Hunting, killing, destroying. Everyone in the galaxy knows it. We almost wiped out every large animal on Earth before we even reached space. We're predators. It's what we are. You are also protectors, Kala said gently. You proved that yesterday. Yes, some humans are cruel, but some humans run into danger to save strangers. Both things are true. Nira looked up at Daewon. Are all humans like the bad ones who made the traps? The question pierced Daewon's heart. He knelt down so he was at eye level with the child. No, Nira, most humans are good. But the bad ones, they make us all look bad. That's why the good ones have to work extra hard. We have to prove that we're better than our worst examples. Later that evening, Daewon met with Hana and a new person. Sung-woo was an information broker who worked on the edges of legal society. He dealt in secrets and rumors, and he had connections throughout the sector. I heard about your poaching problem, Sung-woo said. He was a thin man with sharp eyes. Word travels fast in certain circles. What have you heard? Hana asked. Sung-woo leaned back in his chair. There's a syndicate operating in this sector. Human-run, well-organized. They specialize in exotic wildlife. They supply private collectors, illegal zoos, research facilities that don't ask questions. Very profitable business. Do you have names? Daewon demanded. Names cost money, Sung-woo replied. But I'll give you this for free because I actually like this colony. The syndicate's leader goes by the name Derek. That's all most people know. He keeps his identity hidden. Very paranoid, very careful. He's been in this business for decades. How do we find him? Hana asked. Sung-woo smiled. You don't. You wait for him to find you. And he will, because you just cost him a lot of money. Those 200 traps, each one represents an investment. Each caught animal represents profit. You've disrupted his operation. He's not going to be happy about it. Is that a threat? Hana's hand moved toward her weapon. It's a warning, Sung-woo said calmly. Derek doesn't leave loose ends. Everyone involved in yesterday's rescue is now a target. You, the medic, the tech guy, and especially the Velith witnesses. If I were you, I'd increase security immediately. After Sung-woo left, Hana and Daewon sat in heavy silence. He's right, Hana finally said. We need to protect Kala and Nira, and we need to prepare for whatever comes next. Daewon nodded, but inside his mind was working. He was thinking about the traps, about the systematicness of the operation. He was thinking about human ingenuity turned toward cruelty. And he was thinking about something else. If humans could be this good at hunting and trapping, they could also be good at stopping hunters and trappers. The same skills that made humans dangerous predators could make them excellent protectors. The same intelligence that designed those traps could be used to dismantle them. He pulled up the map of the restricted zone on his tablet. The red dots marking traps spread across the screen like a constellation, but between the dots he saw patterns, paths, logic. The poachers moved through the forest in predictable ways. They serviced their trap lines on schedules. They had habits hunters always did. Hana, Daewon said slowly. What if we stopped reacting and started hunting? She looked at him. What do you mean? The poachers think they're the predators here. They think they own this forest. But we know this forest better than they do. We have technology, training, and motivation. What if we turn the tables? What if we hunt them? Hana considered this. A slow smile spread across her face. You want to set a trap for the trappers. Exactly. They'll come back. They have to. They have too much invested here. When they do, we'll be ready. That's dangerous, Hana warned. These people are professional criminals. They're armed and they're desperate. This isn't a rescue mission anymore. This is war. I know, Daewon said. But think about Nira's face. Think about Kala hanging in those cables. Think about all the other creatures suffering in those traps right now. We can't just sit here and wait for the authorities. By the time they arrive, it'll be too late. Hana was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, but we do this smart. We need more people. We need a real plan, and we need to be ready for things to go very wrong. Agreed, Daewon said. They spent the rest of the night planning. Outside, the moon rose over Viridian 7, casting silver light across the forest. In that forest, traps waited in the darkness. Animals suffered, and somewhere the poachers planned their next move. But now the humans were planning too. And humans, for all their faults, were very good at planning. 3 days passed. The colony worked around the clock to remove the traps from the restricted zone. Every trap they found revealed more about the operation's scope. The poachers weren't just catching animals. They were studying them, categorizing them, choosing the most valuable specimens. Daewon barely slept. He helped coordinate the trap removal teams during the day. At night, he studied everything they found. He made maps, identified patterns, tried to think like the poachers. Where would they strike next? When would they return? Kala grew stronger each day. Her physical wounds were healing, though the doctors confirmed her wings would never work properly again. She would never fly. For a Velith, this was like losing a fundamental part of identity. But Kala remained brave. She smiled for Nira. She thanked the medical staff. She never complained. On the 4th day, everything changed. Daewon was in the lab examining trap components when his communicator buzzed. It was Bora. Her voice was tight. Conference room now, everyone. He arrived to find Hana, Taeho, Jiwon, and several security officers already there. Bora stood at the front, her face pale. She pulled up a message on the display. The message was simple and terrifying. You have interfered with private business operations. You have destroyed valuable property. You have cost us significant profit. This is unacceptable. Return what you have taken and cease your interference or face consequences. You have 48 hours. This is your only warning. The message was unsigned, but everyone knew who sent it. When did this arrive? Hana asked. 1 hour ago, Bora replied. Sent through an encrypted channel. Myung tried to trace it, but it bounced through 17 different relay stations. Could have come from anywhere in the system. What do they mean by return what we have taken? Jiwon wondered. The trapped animals we've released, Daewon said quietly. They want us to recapture them and hand them over. They think the animals are property. That's insane, Taeho said. Some of those animals are sentient beings. The Velith are people. You can't own people. Poachers don't care about that, Hana said grimly. To them, everything is just merchandise. Bora looked at each of them. I need to know. Do we comply with this demand? The room erupted in angry voices. Most people shouted immediate refusals. The idea of handing over innocent creatures to these criminals was unthinkable. But a few voices urged caution. The colony was small and remote. If the poachers attacked, could they defend themselves? Daewon stood up. We can't give in. If we do, we're telling them they can threaten us anytime they want something. We're showing weakness. They'll keep coming back, making more demands, causing more harm. But if we refuse, Bora said, they will retaliate. People could die. People are already dying, Daewon replied. Every day we wait, more animals suffer in those traps. More species get pushed toward extinction, and it's not just here. If this syndicate operates across the sector, they're doing this on dozens of worlds. We have a chance to stop them. We have to try. Hana nodded in agreement. We need to prepare for an attack. Increase security. Arm the perimeter. Get the civilians to safe locations. I'll contact the nearest military outpost, Bora said, but they're 3 days away at best. We're on our own until they arrive. The meeting continued planning defensive measures, but Day One's mind was elsewhere. He was thinking about the message, about the tone. The poachers were confident. They thought they held all the power. They thought the colonists would be too scared to resist. That confidence could be a weakness. After the meeting, Day One went to visit Kala. She was sitting up in bed, teaching Nira a traditional Velith song. They stopped when they saw him. Mr. Day One, Kala greeted him. You look troubled. He explained the situation, the threat, the deadline. Kala listened carefully, her expression growing serious. What will you do? She asked. We're going to fight, Day One said. We won't give you up. We won't surrender the other animals. We're going to defend this colony and everyone in it. Nira looked scared. Will the bad people come here? Day One knelt beside her. They might try. But we have good people here too. People who know how to protect others. People who won't let anything bad happen to you or your mother. You're very brave, Kala said softly. All of you. You didn't have to help us. We're strangers from another world. You could have ignored Nira's cries that day. You could have said it was too dangerous, but you didn't. Now you're risking even more to keep us safe. Why? The question made Day One pause. He thought about it carefully before answering. Because it's the right thing to do. Because someone needed help and we could give it. Because humans need to prove we're more than just predators. We need to show that we can be protectors too. You've already proven that, Kala said. At least to us. That evening, Day One stood on the outpost perimeter wall looking out at the forest. The sun was setting, painting the purple canopy in shades of gold and crimson. It was beautiful. But now he couldn't look at that beauty without thinking about the traps hidden beneath those trees. Hana joined him. Security teams are in position. We've set up motion sensors around the perimeter. Anyone approaching will trigger alarms. They won't come from the ground, Day One said. They'll come from the air. That message mentioned private business operations. These people have ships. Hana's expression darkened. You think they'll orbital strike us? No, too obvious. Too much attention from authorities. But they might drop teams directly into the colony. Fast insertion, overwhelming force, then extraction before anyone can respond. That's what I'd do, Hana admitted. She had military experience. She understood tactics. So how do we counter it? We don't, Day One said. We can't defend against a direct assault by professional soldiers. We're researchers and colonists, not warriors. Then what? We make them not want to attack. We make it too costly, too risky. We change the equation. Hana looked at him. You have a plan. The beginning of one. But I need to talk to Myung first. And I need access to those trap components we've been collecting. They found Myung in the tech lab, surrounded by screens and equipment. The young engineer looked exhausted but alert. He had been working non-stop since the threat arrived. I need you to do something dangerous, Day One said. Can you send a message back to whoever sent that threat? Myung blinked. Probably. But they'll trace it back to us immediately. That's fine. I want them to know it came from us. I want them to receive it before the deadline. What do you want to say? Day One pulled up the map of trap locations on one of Myung's screens. All of it. Every trap we've found, every location, every detail about their operation. We're going to send them proof that we've completely documented their entire setup. Why would we do that? Myung asked, confused. Because right now they think they can just threaten us and we'll cave. They think they can attack, teach us a lesson and rebuild their operation. But if we show them that we've recorded everything, that we've sent copies to the Interspecies Trade Commission, to colonial authorities, to news networks across the sector, then attacking us becomes pointless. The information is already out there. Violence won't get it back, Hana smiled. It's a bluff. We haven't sent that information anywhere yet. They don't know that, Day One replied. And even if they suspect, they can't be sure. The uncertainty might make them reconsider. Or it might make them desperate, Hana warned. Desperate people do desperate things. Maybe. But right now they think they're in control. I want to shake that confidence. I want them to realize that we're not helpless victims. We're witnesses who've documented their crimes. And if anything happens to us, the evidence still exists. Myung worked quickly, compiling the data into a comprehensive package. Maps, photographs, analysis reports, everything they'd gathered. When he finished, he looked at Daewon. Ready to send. Do it, the message transmitted. Somewhere in the system, the poachers would receive it. They would see how much the colonists knew. They would realize that simple intimidation wouldn't work anymore. Now we wait, Hana said. They didn't have to wait long. 6 hours later, another message arrived. This one was different. No threats, no demands, just 4 words. You've made a mistake. Then on Taeho's orbital sensors, they detected it. A ship had entered the system. It was moving fast, heading directly toward Viridian 7. ETA, 18 hours. The poachers were coming. Bo-Ra immediately ordered a colony-wide alert. Non-essential personnel were evacuated to the underground emergency shelters. The security teams armed themselves and took defensive positions. The medical center was prepared for casualties. Everyone moved with practiced efficiency, following emergency protocols, but Daewon could see the fear in people's eyes. Most of these colonists were scientists, farmers, engineers. They'd chosen this life for research and exploration, not combat. Now they were preparing for battle against professional criminals. He found Kala and Nira in the medical center. Jawan was preparing to move them to the shelter. Is it happening? Kala asked. Daewon nodded. They're coming, but you'll be safe in the shelter. It's deep underground, reinforced. They won't get to you there. Nira clung to her mother. I'm scared. It's okay to be scared, Daewon said gently. Brave people feel fear too. They just don't let it stop them from doing what's right. Are you scared? Nira asked. Daewon thought about lying, about being strong for the child, but he decided on honesty. Yes, I'm very. The ship arrived at dawn. It didn't land. Instead, it settled into a low orbit, circling the colony like a predator sizing up prey. Taeho tracked its movements from the command center, his hands shaking slightly as he worked the controls. It's a modified cargo hauler, he reported, but the scans are showing weapons. Lots of weapons. This isn't a transport ship anymore. It's a gunship. Bora stood beside him, her face grim. Can they bombard us from orbit? Probably. But they're not powering weapons yet. I think they're waiting for something. What they were waiting for became clear 30 minutes later. A small shuttle detached from the main ship and began descending toward the colony. It landed in the open field outside the main gate, far enough away that it wasn't an immediate threat, close enough to deliver a message. A single figure emerged from the shuttle. He was tall and broad-shouldered, wearing combat armor that had seen years of use. His face was weathered, scarred, with cold eyes that had witnessed too much violence. He walked toward the gate with complete confidence, as if he owned the ground beneath his feet. That's Derek, Hana said quietly. She was watching through binoculars from the wall. Has to be. Look at the way he carries himself. That's a man who's used to getting what he wants. Derek stopped 50 meters from the gate. He raised his arms to show he wasn't holding weapons. Then he spoke, his voice amplified by speakers on his armor. I'm here to talk. Nothing more. Let me in, or I'll assume you're not interested in a peaceful resolution. Bora looked at Daewon and Hana. What do you think? It's a trap, Hana said immediately. He wants to get inside, assess our defenses, maybe sabotage something. But Daewon shook his head. I don't think so. He could have just attacked. The fact that he's here talking means something changed. Our message rattled him. Or he's buying time while his people move into position, Hana countered. Maybe, but we need information. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Let him in, but keep him contained. Meeting room only, heavy security. Bora made the decision. Open the gate. Escort him to conference room 3. 4 armed guards at all times. Scan him for weapons and surveillance equipment. 10 minutes later, Derek sat across from them in the conference room. The guards had found 3 hidden weapons and 2 communication devices. He'd surrendered them without complaint, that cold smile never leaving his face. Nice setup you have here, Derek said, looking around. Research colony, right? Studying the local flora and fauna. Noble work. You're not here to discuss our research, Bora said sharply. What do you want? Derek leaned back in his chair. I want to understand why you're making this difficult. I sent you a simple request. Stop interfering with my business. Instead, you send me detailed documentation of my entire operation. That's not compliance. That's a declaration of war. Your business is illegal, Daewon said. You're trapping and selling sentient beings. That's not business. That's slavery. The Velith aren't registered as full sentient species in this sector, Derek replied calmly. Legally, they're classified as semi-sentient. The law is murky.
I operate in that gray area. The law might be murky, but morality isn't, Jiwan shot back.
You hurt people. You cause suffering for profit. Derek looked at her with something like amusement. Morality. That's interesting coming from humans. Your species nearly drove itself extinct because you couldn't stop hunting everything that moved. You ate your way through megafauna on every continent. You turned forests into deserts. You poisoned your oceans. And now you're lecturing me about morality? The words hit hard because they contained truth. Human history was full of destruction and excess. The shame of it hung in the air, but Daewon refused to accept it as justification. You're right. We did terrible things. That's exactly why we know how wrong you are. We learned from our mistakes. We changed. We became better. That's what intelligence means. Learning, growing, improving. You're stuck in our past, using our worst qualities as an excuse for your crimes. Derek's smile faded slightly. Pretty speech. But it doesn't change the reality. You've cost me money. You've interfered with a profitable operation. In my business, that has consequences. Is that a threat? Hana's hand moved toward her weapon. It's a fact, Derek said. I didn't come here to threaten you. I came here to offer you a way out. You've documented my operation, fine. You've probably sent copies to various authorities, also fine. That information will take months to process through bureaucracy. By then I'll be long gone operating somewhere else. The galaxy is big. There are always new hunting grounds. So what do you want? Ozora asked. I want you to stop actively interfering. Remove your people from the restricted zone. Let me collect what's left of my investment. I'll be gone within a week. You never see me again. Everyone walks away alive. And if we refuse? Derek's expression hardened. Then I make an example of you. I can't let colonies think they can disrupt my operations without consequences. Other worlds, other operations need to know that interfering with me is costly. Very costly. You'd kill innocent people to make a point? Jiwan asked, horrified. I'd do what's necessary to protect my business, Derek replied. I'm not a monster. I don't enjoy violence, but I'm practical. Sometimes violence is the most efficient solution to a problem. Daewon studied Derek carefully. The man believed what he was saying. He'd rationalized his cruelty into just another business decision. Profit and loss, risk and reward, human life reduced to numbers on a ledger. You mentioned that you operate in gray areas of the law. Daewon said slowly, that means you're careful. You avoid attention. You don't want major incidents that bring down authorities. Correct, Derek agreed. So attacking a registered human colony would bring massive attention. The military would hunt you. Every law enforcement agency in the sector would make you a priority. That's bad for business, Derek smiled again. Also correct. Which is why I'm hoping you'll be reasonable. I don't want to attack. I want to negotiate. Then let me make a counteroffer, Daewon said. You leave. Right now. You abandon this operation completely. You never come back to Viridian 7. In exchange, we delay sending our documentation to authorities for 72 hours. That gives you a head start to disappear. And why would I take that deal when I have a gunship in orbit and you have nothing but a research station? Because we're not bluffing about the documentation. We really did send it. Multiple copies, multiple destinations. If anything happens to this colony, if we suddenly go silent, those messages will be opened and investigated. You'll become the most wanted criminal in the sector. Every bounty hunter, every law enforcement officer, every military patrol will be looking for you. Your ship's transponder codes are in our files. Your crew's DNA samples from the trap sites. Your supply chain contacts, everything. It was a bluff. They hadn't sent anything yet. But Derek didn't know that. Daewon watched the man's face carefully, looking for any sign that the lie was believed. Derek's smile disappeared completely. He was silent for a long moment, thinking. You're betting I won't risk it. You're betting I value my freedom more than revenge. I'm betting you're practical, Daewon said. Like you said. Sometimes the smart play is to walk away, find new hunting grounds, start over somewhere else. Pride isn't worth spending the rest of your life running from authorities. Another long silence. Then Derek stood up. I need to think about this. I'll return to my ship. You'll have my answer by sunset. We'll be waiting, Bora said. The guards escorted Derek back to his shuttle. They watched as it lifted off and returned to the orbiting ship. Then everyone released the breath they'd been holding. "Do you think he'll take the deal?" Taeho asked. "I don't know," Daewon admitted. "We gave him a way out that saves his pride and his business, but he's also a man who's used to winning, used to intimidating people. Walking away might be harder than fighting." Hana pulled up a tactical display. "If he attacks, it'll be fast and hard. Drop teams at multiple points. They'll try to capture key personnel for leverage. We need to be ready." They spent the rest of the day preparing. Every person in the colony had a role. The security teams established firing positions. The technical staff prepared to lock down critical systems. The medical teams stocked supplies. The civilian evacuees were settled in the deep shelter with enough food and water for days. Daewon found himself in the armory, checking weapons he'd never thought he'd need. He wasn't a soldier, he was a scientist. But today, he might have to fight like a soldier. The irony wasn't lost on him. Humans always ready for violence even when they claim to have evolved beyond it. Jiwon came to find him as the sun began setting. "Kala asked to see you. She's still in the shelter, but she insisted." Daewon made his way to the underground facility. It was crowded with frightened people, but everyone remained calm. They trusted the leadership to handle this situation. Kala was in a corner with Nira. When she saw Daewon, she gestured him closer. "I heard what happened in the meeting," she said softly. "The guards were talking. That man, Derek, he's the one responsible for all of this." "Yes. And you offered him mercy. You gave him a chance to walk away." Daewon nodded. "I gave him a practical solution. I don't know if he'll take it." "Why?" Kala asked. The drop pods hit the ground like thunder. 6 of them, scattered around the colony perimeter. Each pod split open, releasing armed figures in tactical gear. Derek's people. Professional soldiers, well-equipped and well-trained. Daewon watched from the command center as the security teams engaged. Gunfire lit up the night. The sound was deafening even from inside the reinforced building. "They're trying to breach the east gate," Hana reported. She was coordinating the defense, her military training taking over. Team 2, fall back to secondary positions. Don't let them pin you down. The attackers moved with precision. They used smoke grenades for cover. They advanced in coordinated groups. They knew what they were doing. This wasn't their first assault. But the colonists had advantages too. They knew the terrain. They'd prepared defensive positions, and they were fighting for their home. "Taeho, can you use the drones?" Daewon asked. "Already on it," Taeho replied. His fingers flew across the controls. 3 surveillance drones lifted off from the roof. Within seconds, they were providing overhead views of the battle, sending feeds to all security teams now. The drones revealed the attackers' strategy. They weren't trying to storm the colony directly. Instead, they were establishing positions, setting up a perimeter. They were preparing for a siege. "They're going to try to starve us out," Hana said, recognizing the tactic. "Cut our power, our water, our communications. Make us surrender without major casualties." "Can they do that?" Bora asked. "If we let them establish that perimeter, yes. We need to disrupt their positions before they dig in." But that meant going on the offensive. That meant sending colonists outside the walls to fight trained soldiers. The risk was enormous. Daewon made a decision. "I'm going out there." "What?" Hana turned to stare at him. "You're not a soldier. You'll get yourself killed. I'm not going to fight them directly, but I know the forest around this colony better than anyone. I can move through it without being detected. I can get behind their lines, create confusion, disrupt their coordination." "That's suicide," Jiwon said. "Maybe, but if we just sit here, we lose. They have more firepower, more training, more resources. Our only advantage is knowledge of this place. I have to use that advantage." Hana started to argue, then stopped. She understood. Sometimes the only way to win was to take calculated risks. "Fine, but you're not going alone." "I'm coming with you. Hana, you're needed here. You're coordinating the defense. Myung can handle coordination. He's been trained for it. I'm better used in the field." She looked at Bora. "Permission to accompany Daewon?" Bora hesitated, then nodded. "Go, but stay on comms. If it looks too dangerous, pull back immediately." They geared up quickly. Dark clothing, light armor, minimal weapons. Speed and stealth would be their protection, not firepower. Daewon grabbed his survival pack, the one he used for forest surveys. It contained everything he might need. They exited through a hidden maintenance tunnel that led outside the main walls. The tunnel emerged in a grove of trees far from the main battle. From there, they moved into the forest using the darkness for cover. The sounds of fighting echoed behind them, gunfire, shouts, explosions. But Daewon pushed it from his mind. He had to focus on the task at hand. They circled around the colony, moving through terrain Daewon knew intimately. Every tree, every path, every hiding spot. This was his forest. These attackers were invaders. They came up behind one of the attacker positions. 3 soldiers, hiding behind portable barriers, firing toward the colony walls. They hadn't posted a rear guard. They assumed the forest was safe. Mistake. Daewon pulled out a small device from his pack. It was a wildlife caller, used to attract animals for study. He modified the frequency and activated it. The sound it produced was similar to the call of those wolf-like predators they'd encountered during the rescue, the creatures that had circled them in the forest. Within minutes, movement in the trees. The soldiers heard it too. They turned, raising their weapons. Then the predators emerged from the darkness. 6 of them, drawn by the call, curious and hungry. The soldiers panicked. They fired at the animals. The animals scattered, confused and angry. One soldier screamed as a predator lunged at him. The position dissolved into chaos. "Move," Hana whispered. They slipped away before anyone noticed them. Behind them, the attackers were dealing with unexpected wildlife. One position neutralized without firing a shot. They repeated the tactic at 2 more positions, using the forest itself as a weapon, drawing predators, creating distractions, sowing confusion. The attackers began pulling back, unsure what they were facing, but then something went wrong. They were approaching the 4th position when lights suddenly blazed around them. Spotlights mounted on portable poles. The area lit up like day. Daewon and Hana froze, exposed. "There!" someone shouted. Bullets tore through the trees around them. They ran, ducking behind cover. But the attackers had night vision equipment. They could see clearly now. They advanced, closing in, this way. Daewon led Hana deeper into the forest toward the restricted zone. It was dangerous, but they needed distance from the attackers. They needed obstacles between them and the soldiers. They ran through the darkness, branches whipping at their faces. Behind them, the soldiers followed. Professional, persistent, patient. They didn't rush. They just maintained pressure, driving their prey forward. Then Daewon remembered. The traps, most had been removed, but not all. Some of the traps in the deepest parts of the forest were still active, too dangerous to approach, scheduled for specialized removal teams. He changed direction, leading them toward one of those areas. It was risky. He might trigger a trap himself. But the soldiers didn't know about the traps. They'd rush in without caution. The area was marked on his mental map. He slowed down, moving carefully now, testing each step. Hana followed his lead, trusting his knowledge. Behind them, the soldiers crashed through the undergrowth. They were getting closer. Any moment now, a scream, then another. Metal jaws snapping shut, curses and shouts of pain. The soldiers had hit the trap line. At least 2 were caught. The other soldiers stopped, suddenly cautious. They called for their injured comrades. They tried to figure out what had happened. Daewon and Hana used the confusion to escape. They circled back toward the colony through a different route. They were exhausted, scratched, bleeding from minor cuts, but alive. They emerged near the main gate. The fighting had died down. Both sides had pulled back, regrouping. Dawn was approaching, painting the sky in shades of gray. In the command center, they found Bora coordinating with security teams. The casualties were light. 3 colonists injured, none seriously. The attackers had suffered worse. Several injured. At least 1 dead from the predator attack. The attackers are setting up a perimeter at greater distance now, Myung reported. They're being more cautious. Something spooked them. Daewon and Hana exchanged glances but said nothing. Let the attackers wonder what was in that forest. Then Taeho called out urgently. The ship is moving. It's descending. Everyone rushed to the windows. The gunship was dropping from orbit, its engines burning bright against the dawn sky. It settled into a hover position directly above the colony, its weapons ports open and glowing. A voice boomed from the ship's speakers. Derek's voice. You've proven to be more troublesome than expected, but this ends now. I'm giving you one final chance. Surrender the Valeth specimens and any documentation you've gathered. Do this within the hour, or I will level this colony from orbit. I'll say there was an accident. A reactor failure. These things happen on remote worlds. No one will question it. Bora's face went pale. He's bluffing. He wouldn't dare. He's desperate, Hana said quietly. We heard him. His people are injured or dead. His pride is wounded. He might actually do it. Daewon looked at the ship hovering above them. So much firepower. Against their small colony, it was like comparing a hammer to an egg. They couldn't fight that. They couldn't defend against orbital bombardment. They had lost, or had they? Tae-ho, Daewon said urgently. Can you access the ship's communication network? What? No, it's encrypted and can you send a signal that looks like it's coming from inside the ship? Fake their own transponder codes? Tae-ho's eyes widened. Maybe. If I use the trap components we collected. They use similar encryption protocols. I might be able to piggyback on their network. But why? Daewon turned to Myung. Remember that documentary information we compiled? The complete record of Derek's operation? Yes? How fast can you package it and broadcast it? Not to authorities. To everyone. Open broadcast. Every ship in the system, every station, every satellite. Make it public. Make it impossible to hide. Understanding dawned on Myung's face. You want to expose him? Right now. Make him too hot to hide. Exactly. If we broadcast everything, if we make his crimes public, he becomes a wanted man instantly. Every law enforcement agency will be looking for him. He'll have to run immediately. Forget about revenge. Survival becomes more important than pride. But if we do that, Bora said, we're revealing our bluff. We're admitting we didn't send the information earlier. He'll know we lied. It doesn't matter anymore. We send it now. Make it real. Take away his options. Bora made the decision in seconds. Do it, both of you. Tae-ho spoofed their signal. Make it look like someone on his ship is the week after the battle passed in a blur of activity. Colonial authorities arrived from nearby systems. Military patrols scoured the sector for Derek's ship. News networks across the galaxy picked up the story. A small research colony had faced down an organized crime syndicate and won, but Daewon took no satisfaction from the attention. He spent most of his time in the forest, coordinating the removal of the remaining traps. Each trap they dismantled felt like a small victory. Each animal they freed was a life saved. On the 8th day, as he was documenting a trap site, his communicator buzzed. It was Hana. We found him, she said simply. Daewon's stomach tightened. Derek? Not the ship. But we found a tracking signal. One of his people got left behind during the evacuation. Injured, hiding in the deep forest, near the old trap lines. Dead? No, alive, but he won't be for long. He's caught in one of his own traps. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Daewon looked toward the deep forest where the trees grew thick and dark. Where exactly? Hana sent him coordinates. Bora is organizing a recovery team, but it'll take hours to reach that location safely. By then. She didn't finish the sentence. By then the man would be dead. I can get there faster, Daewon said. I know those paths. Daewon, it's Derek, the man himself. He's the one who got left behind. His crew abandoned him. The news hit Daewon like a physical blow. Derek, the man who had caused so much pain, who had hurt Kala, who had threatened to destroy the colony. He was out there dying slowly in a trap of his own design. I'm going, Daewon said. Why? Let him die. He deserves it. Maybe, but I need to see this for myself. I need to understand. He set off immediately, moving quickly through the forest. The paths were familiar now, etched in his memory. He knew where to step, where to avoid, how to move through this wilderness efficiently. It took him 2 hours to reach the coordinates. The area was one of the worst trap zones where the poachers had been most active. They'd planned to clear it last after the safer areas were done. He found Derek in a small clearing suspended in one of the bioelectric snares. The same type of trap that had caught Kala. The cables wrapped around his chest and legs, glowing faintly with electric charge. Derek's armor was scorched where the shocks had hit him repeatedly. The man looked terrible. His face was pale, covered in sweat. Blood seeped from wounds where the cables had cut into his flesh, but he was conscious. His eyes tracked Daewon's approach. Come to watch me die? Derek rasped. His voice was weak but still defiant. Daewon approached carefully, scanning for other traps. How long have you been here? Since yesterday. My crew panicked when you broadcast that information. They scrambled to evacuate. In the chaos, my drop pod malfunctioned, crashed into the forest. I tried to make it to the backup extraction point. Didn't see this trap until it was too late. He coughed and blood flecked his lips. Poetic, isn't it? Killed by my own design. You're not dead yet. Derek laughed bitterly. I will be soon. These traps are designed to keep prey alive but helpless. But I'm human, not some delicate alien. The shocks are calibrated wrong for my physiology. They're cooking me from the inside. Another few hours, maybe less. My heart will give out. Day one studied the trap. It was complex, more sophisticated than most. The control box was mounted 10 meters away, probably to prevent trapped animals from damaging it. The cables pulsed with regular intervals, delivering shocks every few minutes. Your people are coming, Day one said. A recovery team. But they won't get here in time. Then why are you here? To lecture me? To tell me I deserve this? I don't know why I'm here, Day one admitted. Part of me wants to walk away. Let you face the consequences of your own cruelty. But another part? He trailed off, trying to find the words. Another part thinks you can save me and prove humans are better than their reputation? Derek's smile was ugly. That's naive. We're predators. Always have been, always will be. You can dress it up with morality and laws, but underneath, we're still the species that hunted mammoths to extinction. That's what makes us successful. That's what makes us strong. Is that what you tell yourself? Daewon asked quietly. That cruelty is strength? That compassion is weakness? It's the truth. Look at human history. We climbed to the top of Earth's food chain by being better predators than anything else. We spread across the galaxy because we're willing to take what we want. Other species are soft, passive. We're not. That's why they fear us. They fear us, Daewon said, because of people like you. Because you prove their worst assumptions about humanity. You're a reminder of what we were, what we could still become if we stopped choosing to be better. The trap pulsed. Derek screamed as electricity coursed through him. When it ended, he sagged in the cables, gasping. Choosing. You think it's a choice? We are what we are. Everything is a choice, Daewon replied. He moved toward the control box. Derek's eyes widened. What are you doing? Something probably stupid. Daewon examined the control box. It was the same design Taeho had disabled for Kala. He understood the mechanism now. The dead man switch, the power routing, the shock sequence, you're going to free me? After everything? I haven't decided yet, Daewon said honestly. He pulled out his tools. I'm trying to figure out what the right choice is. The easy choice is to walk away. Let justice happen. You'd die the same way you made others die. There's symmetry in that. Then do it. Leave. I don't want your pity. It's not pity. Daewon worked on the control box, his hands steady despite his churning emotions. It's about who I want to be. Who humanity wants to be. You said we're predators. You're right, we are. We evolved as hunters. We have instincts for violence and domination. But we also evolved intelligence, self-awareness, the ability to override our instincts. Philosophy won't change nature. It already has. 1,000 years ago, humans would have exterminated the Velith as competitors or threats. 500 years ago, we would have enslaved them. 100 years ago, we would have exploited them. Now we defend them. Now we risk our lives to protect them. That's not nature. That's choice. That's evolution through decisions, not just biology. The trap pulsed again. Derek's scream echoed through the forest. Birds scattered from nearby trees. When the shock ended, Derek was barely conscious. Daewon had disabled the dead man's switch. One more step and he could cut the power. Free the man who had caused so much pain. The man who would probably face trial and imprisonment for his crimes, but who would at least be alive to face that justice. He thought about Nira, asking why he would help a bad human. He thought about Kala, saying that humans proved themselves through their choices. He thought about all the creatures suffering in these traps, the lives destroyed by greed and cruelty. And he thought about what kind of precedent he wanted to set. If humans were going to be part of the galactic community, they needed to demonstrate that they could rise above their predator nature. They needed to show that they valued life, even the lives of those who opposed them. He cut the power. The cables went dark and slack. Derek collapsed to the ground, unconscious but breathing. Daewon checked his vital signs. Weak but stable. He would survive long enough for the recovery team to arrive. Daewon sat down on a fallen log, suddenly exhausted. He'd made his choice. He didn't know if it was the right one. But it was the human one. The one that chose compassion over vengeance, mercy over justice. His communicator buzzed. Daewon, this is Hana. What's your status? I found him. He's alive. Unconscious but stable. Send the medical team. There was a long pause. You freed him, didn't you? Yes, another pause. Are you okay? I don't know. Ask me in a few years. The recovery team arrived an hour later. They took Derek away on a stretcher. He regained consciousness briefly, his eyes meeting Daewon's. There was no gratitude there, but also no more defiance. Just confusion, as if he couldn't understand why he was still alive. The news of Derek's capture spread quickly. He would face trial for his crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. He would spend decades in prison, possibly the rest of his life. His syndicate had collapsed after the broadcast. Other poaching operations across the sector were being exposed and shut down. One man's greed had led to massive change. But more importantly, one colony's courage had inspired others. Across human-settled worlds, communities were standing up to exploitation and crime. They were proving that humans could be protectors, not just predators. A month after the battle, there was a ceremony. The Interspecies Coalition sent representatives. They formally acknowledged the colony's actions. They presented commendations to everyone involved in the rescue and defense. Chairman Vex, the alien dignitary who had come to investigate, gave a speech. Humans have a complicated reputation in our galaxy. They are known as the species that nearly destroyed their own world, the species that hunts with frightening efficiency. Many of us have been afraid of them, uncertain if they could ever be trusted members of the galactic community. He paused, looking at the assembled colonists. But what we witnessed here changes that conversation. We saw humans risk their lives to save a Velith mother and child. We saw them defend the helpless against their own kind. And most remarkably, we saw them show mercy to an enemy who deserved none. Vex looked directly at Daewon.